All right. Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you for tuning in to San Edwards PR TV. I am excited to be here with Mr. J. Dwayne Garnett, and he is the founder of loveisapparable.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jay.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we just kept bumping into each other on social media and realized we had a lot of things in common there. But I would so much rather have you tell people about what you do than try to put it in a nutshell. How about that?
Perfect. That's fine. My name is J. Dwayne Garnett, like you said. I am an Augusta, Georgia native. Um, Benedict grad. So I went to definitely the HBCU, but in 2017, we started an organization called Love is a Parable, where our whole purpose is to bring people together through love, which there are a few things that we hope to help them achieve. And the way that we do that is one, we do value-based education. So we help people identify the things that they value, show them how those values um, influence the way that they see themselves, others, and the decisions that they make. We also incite reflective storytelling. We want people to get comfortable with telling their story and knowing that that story has merit, that story has worth, and that story has an impact. And then lastly, we want to help people, we promote personal acceptance. So we want people to be okay with them, not who you're becoming, but who you are right now in this moment, not with any tweaks, not with any changes, but exactly who you are in that moment. And so we're able to do that not only at an individual level, we're able to do that with groups, with our community partners, both private, public, and corporate. And so we're able to go into different spaces and help people understand how those values shape the way that they see themselves, others, and the decisions that they make.
Excellent. I'm so glad you shared that. And I mean, you really just made me think about how, in this social media era and, the screenshot and post you put you on blast era, it's really easy to be more critical of ourselves than we ever have been. So, just as a certified relationship coach, I bump into a lot of men, which happen to be my specialty is working with men, um, understanding just that lack of support that there is in lots of cases for men. Generally, we expect men to have it together, be strong, be stoic. And, it just leaves a lot of unresolved issues and trauma and lack of acceptance, even within the self. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. When we talk about the lack of support, I can say it's two things. There is support, and then there's the illusion of support. And unfortunately, a lot of our brothers can't tell the difference between the two because there aren't a lot of safe spaces, if we're being 100% honest, for men to just be men and address the needs that are really tailored to them and them only, not to the services that they provide, not to the expectation they need to meet, but them just being ideally just a man. And so what we did in a response to not only that, but also in a response to reducing misogyny, domestic violence, rape culture, gender inequality, and the list goes on and on, we created an initiative called Brother Empowerment. And we literally tell them every Thursday it comes on multiple social media. We're talking about YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn every Thursday at 8:30, where we just want to help our brothers and their families to break through without breaking and being that human safe space for us to discuss situations that impact men from a men perspective. This is not a shoulda, coulda, woulda opportunity or telling them things that they need to do, but this is an opportunity to engage in healthy dialogue and hope that something that is discussed will make a positive impact either on the man or someone that the man is in contact with.
Yeah, I love that. So I know you do a good bit of work with corporate, and that's so important. Important, I believe more so now than ever when people are, you got businesses shutting down and people don't. A lot of people just don't want to work at a lot of the businesses that are hiring. I believe that has a lot to do with company culture, how included people feel, and stigma. And I know that's your specialty. So, did you want to talk about how providing that human safe space correlates over to the corporate environment and how you guys help businesses?
Yeah, with the height of everything that is going on, especially living in the social media era, and you kind of alluded to that earlier, there are pre-existing issues that have always been here. But with the gift of social media, it has shined a brighter light on certain issues like race inequality, on top of all the other demographical errors that we do have of some form of discrimination. So companies are looking for strategic ways to address a lot of these issues and concerns, and unique ways to have these conversations. So we have been partnering with several towns and several corporate entities to have these conversations about what is the overall vision, mission, and cultural structure that organizations have, and what things are actually hindering them from getting there. So through all of our trainings and through all of our conversations, is three things that we're going to combat. That is restrictive ideologies. These are things that you may subscribe to and have accepted as some form of cultural norms. These are constructural in nature. You don't necessarily be cognizant of it, but these are things that you may enforce not even knowing it. Limiting beliefs. These are some things that we do have some knowledge of, usually attached to our traditions or our values in that regard, where we hold in some regard. And then, of course, there is something of thinking. These are things that we feel like we know without any research or anything, and we present as if they're fact and truth when in actuality they're not. So we help them do these three things in any type of setting, and you'll be surprised that there is this unique correlation between people feeling like just because I said it, it will manifest itself. Meaning, our core values are belonging, acceptance, productivity, and integrity. And these things are just going to happen because we plaster them on the wall. But we help them look at, well, what are the behaviors? Are these behaviors that you guys have unknowingly, and the things that you truly value, are they being exhibited, or are these just commercial or politically correct, if you will, feel good core values that you would like to ascribe to, or do you think that are great? So we help them find out what is the organization truly valuing and how to get that organization to that perceived desired outcome of whatever it may be. And that is having some tough conversations, but some meaningful, great conversations without it being so confrontational. But it is a little rigid and a little tough, and we don't mind having those type conversations.
Well, I think that's important. I'm always telling people, most of us were not necessarily taught how to have effective communication growing up, and a lot of a lot of the communication that we experienced growing up was highly dysfunctional. You know, I say all the time, dysfunction only becomes normal when you accept it as a norm. But once we accept it and then we continue to perpetuate that type of behavior in different workplaces we end up in, the business takes on its own personality, its own atmosphere, and its own set of expectations. So if we don't begin that conversation, it's easy to see why lots of companies could struggle in that aspect.
Exactly.
So I'm really looking forward to doing some things with you moving forward. Let me see. Did you want to talk about the 8-week training that you do for individuals, groups, and corporate? Did you want to talk about that a little bit, some of the areas you cover?
Yes, it's when you and I were talking offline, I chuckle sometimes because for some strange reason, love is a parable. People tend to conceptualize us based off of their personal experience. So if someone met us through brother empowerment, they think brother empowerment is love is a parable. And we're like, no, that's an initiative, but that's not all that we do. And so some people have met us through our different value-based workshops where we've had conversations on race relations or sex and sexism, or our career readiness workshop. And they will only say, oh, Love is a Parable is a career development organization. And we want to definitely make people clear that we are a value-based education nonprofit. We are a charitable organization, and we go to places and help them understand how those values shape the way that they see themselves, others, and the decisions that they make, and that comes in different forms. And so one of our bread and butter trainings that we do is our Love Advocacy training, which presently is an 8-week course where they spend time with us virtually. And we have been doing some highly restricted, low attendance in person during this COVID era, but it's an 8-week program where we have 5 weeks of instruction. We meet 1 day a week for about an hour and a half. And we go over these different learning modules. We break for 2 weeks and give them an opportunity to complete what is called a random acts of kindness project. We set up those guidelines, and then they come back in the 8th week and we have a graduation, and they receive their certificates. And throughout the entire program, it is 40 days of positive affirmations and writing prompts that they do have to also complete, in addition to sitting in the instruction and completing the random act of kindness project. After we go through
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think what you guys are doing is powerful, because oftentimes, once we graduate high school or college, we don't really look at increasing our education, and the conversation about emotional intelligence oftentimes never comes up.
Exactly.
So, when that's the case, we find ourselves struggling in all types of relationships, from personal and platonic to familial relationships in your workplace. This makes it overall difficult to achieve your goals in life if you're not aware of the mistakes that you're making. So I would say you guys are doing God's work, and I appreciate all that you do. Did you have anything to add before we wrap up?
No, I definitely would thank you. I thank you for you just being an open vessel, and I look forward to working and partnering with you as well. And if there are any of the viewers have any additional questions and want to really engage in some deeper dialogue, we can be contacted, visited. All of our information can be found at loveisapparable.com. That's the best way to go. And yes, we're on all social media platforms, but if you go to loveisapparable.com, it will provide you an opportunity to kind of understand the backstory, what it is that we do, get a better understanding of our outreach initiatives and things like that. And then reach out to any of the leadership team if you want to meet with them individually. Their information is there as well. So it's more than just Jay. And we just want to make this world a better place where we all can belong and get along together.
All right. Well, I have truly enjoyed having you today. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Likewise. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.